All right, good morning. We're rocking and rolling. Fed spoke yesterday about inflation numbers and everything, and I kind of presumed that all that stuff was already priced in. So I think that technically we're gonna see a bull run because all of let's look a little bit farther. I think all of this was kind of already priced into the inflation numbers. All this right here, and how they want to raise rates, and this whole downfall is kind of already priced in, right? So I think that since the news came out, now I think it's sort of a buy the news, and it will sell the rumor type of deal. But that doesn't mean that I'm doing calls yet. Um, I'm actually might look for puts today, just because of how much it's moved up. If you look at the technicals, if we're doing like wave, like if we're looking at how things wave, like this comes up, this comes down, then we get to come up, then we get to come down, then we get to come up. So the market likes to move in waves, and what I'm thinking is that it's not going to go all the way down a downtrend. I'm thinking it's just going to come like halfway, something like that. So I've got my support drawn here. I've got everything kind of marked for support. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I've got things marked for support, which is this trend line ultimately. This one here, this big, long, nice one. This one's ultimately my support line, and that's gonna be telling me where we might have a strong bout. I think this one is also valid. This horizontal line, I think it's also valid, but I think we're going to break that, which is why that's gonna be where I'm gonna be wanting puts, right? So obviously the best time would be the highest price for puts, which would be now. But technically we're broken out. We are broken out, and it's of a good break too. Like we had a stair step into the break, but it doesn't mean that just because we broke, we're not gonna come back down and hold the support, or anything, and possibly go lower. And it could wander out before going higher. That's technically what I think. I think it's gonna wander out for a little bit before going higher. I think if it goes straight up to 415, we're gonna come straight down. No, I don't think that's the case. Excuse me. I think we're technically going to wander out for a second. So I think we're up a little bit too much right now, and we'll kind of wander out and die down, and all that business. That being said, let's look at the volume just to confirm what I'm saying. Yeah, high volume into the break for sure. As you can see, compared to this volume here over this volume was a low volume, and this candle here was actually higher volume than this previous candle. So that's actually a divergence, which is diverging into selling. So if we have another thing that's like that, if we have this high candle here, and then we have a low candle right here, or even if we have a higher spread candle here, which could very well be the case. We have a extremely high spread candle here, but the stock doesn't. I mean, the SPY doesn't move much. There could be a selling divergence, and I'd ultimately like that for puts. There's not too much volume. It doesn't seem like right now. We had increased volume there, but that was definitely a selling divergence there. So we're getting close to some puts. We definitely could see a downside. It probably would be smart to get in on them sooner than later, is what I'm thinking. I just don't want to get caught in anything, which I guess I'm a bit scared. So let's fight fear. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for September 12th. We're gonna get some puts with 397. We're gonna get on the ask already because it's failing, and I'm gonna use this kind of trend line here as my stop loss. If it breaks above that, I'm gonna get out. I'm just gonna mark it out and say okay. But if we hold, especially the next candle, if it starts rejecting off this trend line, or even if it just starts flushing, I'm gonna start adding. And, we could get stopped out and it tries it again. But really, we shouldn't break the trend line. If we break the trend line, then I'm thinking we're gonna hold sideways for a little bit longer, and it might not be time for puts yet. So really, if it's time for puts, we should see the gap fill. We should fill downwards, and I can take the nice put, and that'll be it. But I'm not opposed to any position right now. I'm unbiased. It's not like I have a. Oop, here we go. Get ready here to take another one. I'm gonna go and add. Got two right now. And then if it makes a new low, I'm actually gonna add another one. Or if it breaks the low of this previous candle, I'll add another. So there's definitely some kind of support here. It even might be enough support to just barely push it up past this trend line. But I'm still going to use that trend line as my stop loss just because this is supposed to be an instant trade. It's supposed to be an instant flush. So I want to see it reject off this trend line now and do another flush. Or do the flush. We want to see the flush. It's already kind of starting to reject off the trend line, but in all cases, I do not want to see it break. If it breaks, then this just isn't the trade that I'm thinking of right now. Watching it pretty closely here. Cool. So we're rejecting pretty nice. There's the rejection. Let's see a new low than the previous two candles, which are about the same low, and I'll add again. It's coming back up to that trend line. We really should see it start rejecting even lower. I'm looking to see if it passes its top wick. If it starts to pass its top wick, I'm afraid that is still bullish. It's having trouble, I will say. But I'm not opposed to saying I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong because that just means I can make more money on a different play. So here we go. Here we go. Starting to starting to break it here. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it out. And then if we're still good with it, I'm gonna get back in. Okay, made that new low. Hurry up and get back in. Oop, come on. Come on. Come on. Take the shares. So it's funny how it wanted to just stop me out and then come right back in. So now I'm in my full position again, and we're gonna wait for the nice move here. See how far we can take it. I'm gonna try and take one here. Cool, got one. So it's good to have to cover the risk like that. I mean, it would really suck if it broke that trend line and it just kept moving, or at least stayed sideways. That's one, wasting option time to expiration. It's just slowly decaying, and two, it's not the trade that I wanted. So I really want to stick to the plan with every single trade, and really have the conviction and the reward with the conviction. If it's not, you just get stopped out. That's it. See if it rejects at the trend line again. Go. Got a lot of buys going through the timing sales, but it seems like there's just more sellers that are pushing it down and are holding it right now, which I'm biased. I want that to be, so I'm like filtering that out in my brain that I'm seeing it, which it could be the other way, and we could break through that trend line again, and I'd actually want to mark it out again. Mark it out there. The trade just looks wrong. It just is just looking wrong right now. I don't think we broke it twice. We shouldn't have even broke it once, right? So we barely broke it, and then it kind of popped down, and I took some gains back from the losses, but I just lost more money back. That's okay. We're still looking for that flush. And we're above the trend line now. I'm actually going to adjust this and move it to there. And I'll put one like this. Still thinking we gap fill. I'm gonna start adding in another put position right now. Just looking a bit weaker. And I'm actually gonna get in with a little more size this time. I think it's gonna take even more to break out of that new trend line on the top, but I think it's gonna take even less effort to make it to that bottom. So I think there's a pretty good risk to reward here if I can actually get more. Yeah, so I got a little more contracts there. And I'm taking another one that's a separate contract on a different strike price. We're gonna see if we can see that nice flush down to that trend line there, which I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's very possible. And we're just playing probabilities, right? And probabilities have an edge. And I'm afraid if this trade fails, then I'm just gonna be done trading for the day because I think that's three trades in a row that have failed. I don't think that puts are the answer anymore. I'm sorry. I mean, it's true. You know, what can you say? I mean, if you're wrong, and that's it. Here we go. I'm gonna start getting ready for a kind of flush here. Get my orders ready. Even starting to look a bit weaker. Uh-oh. Could be a buyer trap. I don't know. Starting to see some kind of flush here. I'm gonna consider grabbing one for a sale as soon as we get about halfway that trend line. So taking a bit longer than expected, right? We expected it pretty instant when we first started the day, but it's seeming like it is definitely taking a bit longer. And it might continue, you know, so I just want to keep the stop loss above this trend line and you know, go from there. This could get unfortunate. Oh, get ready here in case I want to mark it out. I think I'm out. A much bigger than expected loss today. Sad, but you know, that's just the name of the game. I mean, we thought we were gonna gap fill pretty early, didn't. we're seeing a new trend line here. Something like that. We no longer going to use this one in relation. We're going to use this one in relation. We're going to wait for it. It'll only be about that much. Let's see if I can grab some quick puts here. And try and reduce my loss. Let's see. Front row. Like Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I have to get out of that one too. And we're just growing the loss right now, so don't think puts are it. I really should have changed my position, so let's talk about where I went wrong. I should have changed my sentiment probably when this trend line broke. When this original one broke here, I probably should have changed my sentiment. I think that's why I went wrong. Instead of sticking to one thing, you know, puts, I should have changed my sentiment, and that would have made me a successful trader today. We blew it. We thought that it was gonna gap fill. It has not gap filled clearly, but that's okay. And we blew some capital, I will say, but at the end of the day, switch the damn sentiment. I guess that's the moral of the story, is know when to switch your sentiment. Especially if you are able to. If you're just trading shares and you can't short, that's a little different. But if you're doing options on ETFs like I am, you should know when to switch your sentiment. I want to take another trade. I really do. Really want to take it. I think that's it though. I'm gonna call it. And I took this put here, so I'm gonna let this one kind of ride out. I still think it's gonna gap down, but man, I'm probably being stubborn. I don't know. And revenge trading, huh? But yeah, I still took it. I'm gonna see if I can ride this one down to support where it's gonna gap fill, and we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Other ways. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.